Hi guys. Sort of update. The last week, most of the last week has been ridiculously hot. Even having my AC running, which uses huge amounts of electric, it's been a struggle out here. And also the usual limitations on standing, really a bit limiting. So I haven't really got a lot done, and yet I have a lot on the list. I want to get stuck into my acute sharpening system. I've got lots to do on that, although all the bits are small, but there's a lot of fiddle. My Z drive, I want to pay some attention to that, get some progress. So anyway, this really is just sort of odds and ends, and thanks to Randy Richard for his short video the other day. He was just making some soft jaw covers, and strangely enough I had just made some, or tried making some, which I suppose was the hard way compared to his, and I thought, well, no, that's a good way of doing it, so I'm going to try and replicate that and cover that with a bit of video. It's something I've been meaning to do for ages, and the forejaw needs a set of soft covers as well. The only thing which I'm changing, and I'll mention that when we get on to closer shot, I'm extending part of the item, shall we say. I'm also trying to use two cameras. I've actually resurrected my old one, which we're on at the moment, and I think for relatively wide angle shots it's okay. It has its problems when I zoom in and things start moving, and then the focus goes in and out and in and out. So what I've got is the newer camera. I've got it set up in a different position, so there's a bit of experimentation here. So I'm going to switch to the lathe in a minute and describe what I'm messing about with. Alright, well, I'm going to try this different angle. We're sort of hooked up towards the ceiling. Alright, these softenings. Here is the first attempt, and this is, I don't know what gauge, it's probably 2022. It's a little bit stiff, it's aluminum, and I made it a bit fiddly. I actually took the jaws out of the chuck, so I'm not sure whether that's very visible. I think I need to change the angle. Let's try this, see if it works. So I'm still messing around with angles and stuff. So anyway, you can probably see a little bit more of that one. And it's just cut and fold and tap it into place. But Randy's idea, which was a bit easier, but I needed to add something to it. This one, this pattern, only, if I turn that the other way, it's only, you see that from there, that is only covering basically half the jaw, which is plenty adequate for some things. But what I wanted to do was actually, I've got, I think, 1 3/4, something like 1 3/4 there, just under, and I wanted to cover the whole of the jaw, so I put something in there. This is what I've cut out to give it a try, and try and get the center line. Fairly accurate. I did incidentally consider, I got a couple of sheets of 10 thou brass, which I'd considered using, and I've got some copper bus bar, but that's only about an inch, and because I wanted to go right the way in to cover the whole jaw surface, that's why I've come to the aluminum. And all I'm doing for cutting is surgical scissors, and this is quite easy to cut. Obviously, with any shears of any sort you're going to get deformation, but by the time we've finished a little bit of hammer work, we'll sort things out. This, by the way, was a sort of cardboard template I made for this first rather complicated job, to which I've added this, and I'm ignoring those tabs, they're not needed. Now this material is actually, I think, about the same, it's about the same gauge as this one, but it's a much softer, it's almost like pure aluminum, not quite as soft but close. So that's what we're using for the starting point. So I'm going to make those other two. These are certainly not as pretty as the ones Randy made. I think he actually used some silver-plated bus bar, which worked very well. It was about 16 gauge, probably formed pretty easily from what I remember. And here the the requirement is not for pretty, but I do give him credit for the method of making. I mean, they say they're not pretty at all, but by God, they'll do the job. So they'll go in there. They need tidying up. Got some little nips to make here and there just to make them tidier. Put a bit of tension on them so they stay put. There again, once the workpiece is in, you notice that flop slightly because I've got the tail going all the way in, but I do feel a bit happy with that, and I've got the jaw with that packing all the way back. Probably incidental. Anyway, there we are. That's all I can manage for the moment. So, too much standing again. I hope very much in the next week or so I can get onto some substantial stuff. Okay guys, I screwed up earlier. I thought that the camera position was okay, but I kept seeing Baldy Locks with his butt fluff bald head getting in the way. So some of the bits I was trying to demonstrate won't really show, so I'm going to just do a quick recap and probably cut out a lot of the bits that are full of head. So anyway, we got to the point where having a blank piece, just a piece of tube, right, we got to the point where I folded the sides back and then marking up here, a couple of cuts, bring the tabs in fact using a bit of tool steel like Randy did just to set those a bit. There's still a need for some cleanup, a little bit of trimming here and there. So, having got all three made now, with, I might add, because I did mention this earlier, I think I wanted to make a longer section so the whole of the length of the jaw is covered.
That means they flop around a bit, but they stay put. That's the priority, is they don't fall out straight away. So I put the workpiece in, tighten up, and we're good to go. Alright, and whilst I mentioned earlier this Mark I version actually works fine, but it only covers the front half of the jaws, and that was what I wanted to remedy. Alright, so when I finish putting the video together, you might see odd little bits that weren't obscured by head, but that basically is how we did it, courtesy of the Randy Richards approach. Quite pleased with that. Just got to make some more for the forejaw, and if I cut out the bit where I mentioned, one reason for actually getting it done at last is that I've got this piece of aluminum which is for the acute sharpening system, 2 of those, and I've got to face and bore them out, and I didn't want to make big chuck marks all over them, so that was why these were brought to the fore and get them done. So that's it. Any other bits that seem a bit lacking in continuity are only because I've just kept odd stages in if the head wasn't in the way. Otherwise, maybe you get the general idea. That's what we call a screw up on the video front. Alright, thanks for watching, guys. Hope to be back fairly soon.